Um, I would like to tell a concrete Hegelian experience that I just had. And people might wonder, why bother with Hegel? All these abstractions, what Hegel calls the realm of shadows, which is the pure realm of logical determinations abstracted from natural empirical reality. But the purpose of Hegel's philosophy is to mediate the everyday experience of being by the totality of world knowledge, and only when you possess, in general outlines, the totality of world knowledge, which of course is impossible. It's impossible to be a specialist in every field, but you have to have the broad picture. Then you can appreciate being, which is the most difficult thing to do. But as an empirical individual, I have spent most of my adult life reading books, and my favorite books were German philosophy. Hegel, Fichte, Kant, Nietzsche, Schelling, yeah. And today I went into a fast food restaurant because I am a biological being, and in order for my brain to function, I need to eat. Otherwise, I would just starve. So I went to a Turkish kebab restaurant, and I tried, while waiting, I tried to interpose thoughts between my experience of being in the moment and the events which unfolded around me. And here's a few things that I noticed. First, it was teeming with life. There was movement, there was many people, probably 20 people in the restaurant. It was small, but there were many people in it. And there was a black man. There were what I would probably define as Turkish people, and I know from history that Turkey, the country, in ancient times it was inhabited by the Hittites, which were an Indo-European people, and the Galatians, which were a Celtic and therefore also Indo-European people, and there were Greeks who colonized the country and who were Aryan or Indo-European people as well. So there was a lot of European peoples in the history of Turkey, and only later there were Asian invasions which molded and mixed with the then population of the country and became the modern Turks. And that's why the Turks, some of them have Asiatic features, but some of them look almost European, or at least some have European features, and some have a very white skin. And that's probably a leftover of the genetic makeup of the country. So yeah, there were also Northern Africans, and I know broadly from history that Northern Africa was colonized by the Romans, of course, but then the Vandals, which were a Germanic tribe, populated Northern Africa, and that's the same thing for Northern African people. There are some who look Arab because the Arabs conquered the land, and it's a mixture of the native Berber population and the Northern African population, which is, from a biological standpoint, they are a Caucasoid, Caucasian people. They are not European Caucasians, but they are Caucasians nonetheless. So the shape of the skull is broadly similar to that of Europeans, but they are nonetheless different. But they are in the Caucasian family of classical anthropology. And some Northern African have very European features. Some even have blue eyes. It's very rare, but it occurs. And some, they have a very clear, very white skin. So they are partly, remotely, but partly European. So that was for the ethnic composition of the people. And there were also whites, of course. And I saw two blonde children with their parents. And I am an evil person because whenever I see blonde children, my heart is moved, because a part of me loves Aryan people more than anything else, and this is evil because to love something more than something else is to choose and to negate, and that's the birth of all evil. So, but I am for now human, and I love blonde people, although that I myself am not blonde, I'm not Aryan, I'm not beautiful. That's precisely why I love Aryan beauty. And yeah, um, and I noticed that the Northern African's mother, she was very young, probably in her 20s, but she had 6 children. I don't know if it was her children, but in the abstract, they are all children of God. But she had many children with her, so she was willing to give life and to sacrifice her personal happiness in order to promote a greater happiness in having an image of herself in her descendants and in her children. So that's respectable and that's worthy of being praised. And both this young Northern African mother and the blonde mother of the 2 kids, they had the same shoes, which were All-Star Converse, and it's the manifestation of American culture, and they are different but nonetheless united by wearing the same shoes, which are produced by American brains and fabricated by Asian slaves, probably somewhere in an obscure factory in Vietnam or Thailand or Cambodia, I don't know where. But they are united by American culture, which transcends the difference because, and they were talking to each other nicely, and they were interested in exchanging thoughts with one another. So yeah. There were also white middle-class men in their 20s who were wearing ties and a shirt and a smoking. They were very well dressed with nice shoes, and you saw that they had an imposing social status, that they wanted to show an image of themselves as being well off, as being high middle class, or being on the move for acquiring a high social status. And nonetheless, they were in this fast food restaurant eating ordinary working class food with meat and fat and French fries. And yeah, so it made me think about sociobiology, because the external appearance that men adopt in their clothes and in their outfit is a way of manifesting their social status to other men in the struggle for social hierarchy and social dominance, but also to women. It's a sign that they send to women to say, look, I'm so well dressed that I am a good male, and if you choose me, we can have good children together. That's the unconscious will that they manifest. They work hard, they sacrifice their youth, making long, boring, and painful studies to acquire a job which, in their view, will bring them money and a social status, and they want to reflect their efforts by wearing nice clothes to distinguish themselves from others, to attract the most attractive females. And I thought about them and I said to myself, okay, these guys work probably hard, they are dedicated on that, but they won't have more than 2 children, and maybe they will even die childless. Whereas a more working class immigrant of Turkish or Northern African origin, or even a South-Saharan African, he will be less intelligent, he will not have the same degrees and social status, but he will be more bold and daring, and he will have the courage to talk to the woman that he wants and that he's interested in, to say, would you like to have sex with me, and would you like to have children together? And that's why we see so many mixed race children in France and in Western Europe, is because the immigrants, the non-white immigrants, they may be less intelligent on average. This is just an average. It's a mathematical bell curve, so I'm not saying that all of them, it's just mathematical necessity. Some of them, a proportion of them, may be less intelligent than the whites, who are on average more intelligent, but they have more courage, and the result is that they have more children, they have more fulfilling experience of life, whereas the highly intelligent white middle class and high class males, they end childless or with one child, and they are unhappy, and they are weak and they are decadent. And yeah, so the right wing, I thought about it. The right wing leaders, they hate the immigrants because they accuse the immigrants of wishing to replace themselves, and there's a reciprocal hatred. But what they hate in the other is what they hate in themselves, because they are forced to acknowledge that the other, the immigrants, they have lots of children, they are brave, they are courageous, and that their people is decadent, has lost the will to live, has lost the living spark, the Nietzschean will to power, and they are sinking in decadence and hedonistic pleasures. So they project their hatred of their own people on the other. But in truth, you should not hate the immigrants for replacing yourself, because if you are being replaced, it's because you are replaceable. If you were irreplaceable, if you could not be replaced, there would be no immigrants. So of course I'm aware that the JQ and they are scheming and manipulating to bring about the great replacement and all that, but in truth, if Europeans had made themselves irreplaceable, they would not have been replaced. That's the lesson that I learned. And then the blonde. Of course, I am moved because, like I said, I'm not Aryan, I'm not beautiful, I'm not blonde, but I love the Aryan archetype of beauty. But I understand that blonde and blue-eyed people can only exist because not blonde and not blue-eyed and not beautiful people exist also. So beauty is made manifest by lack of beauty, and it is only the lack of beauty which makes beauty so remarkable. If in a society everyone was blonde and blue-eyed and had a perfect symmetric face with Aryan features, we would not even notice the beauty because it would be so normal, it would be so common. It's because Aryan beauty is so extraordinary that it's so precious and so valuable. And I learned that by being in this restaurant. And I learned many other things. I will stop there, but I have many other things to say. And there's just a quote from the lyrics, because this channel is cultural Hegelianism, and I try to mix philosophy with religion, which is the experience of God, and pop culture. And there's the song by Lady Gaga, which says, which is Paparazzi, which says, "I'm your biggest fan. I'll follow you until you love me." And you know what? Reality follows me wherever I go, because wherever I go, there is reality. So the way I interpret this is that reality will follow me until I learn to love reality, and that's why I'm trying to do. I am trying to appreciate what I once did not appreciate, and this coming to consciousness of the need to appreciate reality in all its aspects is God consciousness. And yeah, I promise I'll be kind, but I won't stop until that boy is mine. That's very comical, because God is living in my mind, and God is living in the mind and hearts of everyone. So whatever I do, think, or say, God is here to watch me. That's horrifying, because God knows everything about me. And the more I try to save myself by rationally justifying and explaining creation, the more I am unconsciously working for God, and I am bringing the justification of creation, which is what God wants. So God is using me as a tool to gather information about reality, and this is what God does. He becomes incarnate in flesh to gather information about his own creation, and that's it. So I am the puppet of God, and that's scary and comical at the same time. But yeah, I will make a second video.